And we're back for another one. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're going to have a lot of fun here today. Hey, in Universal Accounting Center, that's where you need to get your certifications from. If you're not winning, they will help you win at the highest level. Look, so today it's basically a master class for accountants, bookkeepers, tax professionals, and advisors. I call it the framing effect, okay? Control the conversation, control the outcome. It's basic stuff, but not many people are good at it. So I'm going to teach you how to get good at it. Look, imagine two accountants walk into the same exact meeting, okay? They've got the same credentials, the same certifications, same bookkeeping package. They've got even the same tax knowledge, okay? Prices are about the same. They're even working with the same prospect. But one leaves with a signed agreement, but the other guy leaves with, sounds great, let me think about it. So what's going on right here, okay? Most people think the difference was communication. It wasn't. Most people think the difference was probably the rapport. Nope. Most people think the difference was objection handling. It's again wrong, okay? Look, the difference happened before the prospect ever evaluated the offer. The difference happened in the prospect's mind. One accountant controlled the frame, the other accountant accepted the prospect's frame. And the moment you accept someone else's frame, you've already lost, okay? Let's talk about something that most sales trainers will never teach you, even if you buy the $10,000, $100,000 sales programs. They'll never teach you what I teach you for free. All right, look, human beings do not experience objective reality. Okay, they experience interpreted reality. So I want you to think about that for a second. Every decision a business owner makes is filtered through their prior experiences, emotional states, cognitive biases, identity, perceived risks, the social conditioning, meaning that nobody buys based on facts. They buy based on the meaning attached to facts. Okay, this is why two people can hear the exact same presentation and arrive at opposite conclusions, okay? Happens all the time. Well, the information didn't change. What happened was the frame changed, okay? Look, one of the greatest discoveries in modern psychology, okay, is that humans are not rational. Humans are predictably irrational, okay? We like to believe we make logical decisions. Well, in reality, we don't, okay? Emotion decides, the logic justifies. Let me say that again. The emotion decides and then the logic justifies. The single sentence, okay, right there, explains most sales failures. All right? Most of your failures come from that right there. Let's go to the next thing. I need you to start writing things down. Write this down. Why accountants struggle with sales. The main reason that they struggle is because, look, you guys love logic too much, right? But business owners buy emotionally. Accountants present facts. Business owners make decisions based on facts. Accountants explain. Look, if you want to be an elite advisor, right, you have to influence perception. That's a huge difference, right? Most accountants say we provide bookkeeping services. Well, the elite firm owner says you currently have no financial visibility over the machine producing your income. You currently have no financial visibility over the machine producing your income. It's the same service, it's a different frame, it's a different outcome. So your language is going to produce different results. Your language is what controls frames, okay? Look, let's go to the next thing. This you need to write down. The brain doesn't evaluate price. The brain doesn't evaluate price. Meaning, okay, this is where sales gets interesting. Most people think prospects evaluate price. Actually, they don't. Prospects evaluate the context. So let's do an experiment, okay? Let me show you something here. So you got a bottle of water, all right, at Costco. It's 50 cents. Well, at a football game, it's $6. At an airport, it's $8, okay? At a luxury resort, it's $12. It's the same water. It's a different frame. The price wasn't evaluated, but however, the context was evaluated. Now let's bring that back to accounting, okay? If your bookkeeping is framed as monthly bookkeeping, you're dead, okay? Commodity, replaceable. Look, compared against QuickBooks, compared against offshore labor, compared against software, all right? So I need you to frame it differently. Look, financial intelligence for making profitable business decisions. Suddenly you're not a bookkeeper. Suddenly you're not selling bookkeeping anymore. Now you're selling decision-making capability, and that's a massive shift. All right, let's go to the next thing. I'm going to teach you guys a lot in this video. But one thing I need you to always remember, that the first frame always wins. One of the most important concepts in negotiation as a whole, okay, the first frame established usually becomes the reference point. This is why elite advisors never start with features. They start with consequences. So a horrific opening would be, what accounting services are you looking for? A dominant opening would be, because we discuss solutions, help me understand what happens if this problem continues for another year. Well, do you see what happened there? The prospect is now evaluating consequences instead of features. And that single shift changes everything. All right? This is a wonderful story that I like to share with people. The story of the $30,000 tax problem. You know, a business owner once told me, I don't think I need tax planning. Okay, and that's classic. Most salespeople would begin defending tax planning. Well, that's the wrong move. Okay, I asked, how much did you pay in tax this last year? He says $30,000. Okay, $30,000. I asked, how much could have been reduced legally? I don't know. Well, what if the answer was $5,000? What if it was $10,000? What if doing nothing cost more than hiring someone? Suddenly, tax planning wasn't an expense. It became protection. The frame changed, and the decision changed. So understand, it is all about questions, and that selling is not telling. All right, let's go to the next thing. Status frames, okay? This is where the best salespeople operate, in status frames, okay? Look, humans can constantly evaluate status. Well, not social status, but decision-making status. Who should lead? Who should follow? Who has certainty? Who has expertise? Who should I trust? Most accountants accidentally lower their status. What do I mean by that? Nathan, what do you mean by that? Here's an example for you. So, what do you think? What would you like to do? Maybe, possibly, I hope. Well, all of that is timid communication, okay? The kind of language that you need to use should sound more like this. Based on what you shared with me, Janet, here's what I recommend, okay? And then you lay out the blueprint of what you heard, you diagnosed, you assessed, you solve. You lead them with authority and confidence, okay? Clients do not pay experts to guess, so your tonality can't be timid or weird, all right? They pay experts to guide. The next thing that we need to cover today, it's very important, is the identity frame, okay? This may be the most powerful frame in the entire sales game, is identity framing people. I do it every day, okay? You're a winner, John. You shouldn't be at the bottom. Am I right or am I right? I'm a winner, Nathan. All right. I mean, you can do it with so many things. It's insane. But then the people actually will behave to that identity. But here's the thing. What they will always do is protect their identity at all costs. Okay, so a business owner does not see themselves as someone who buys bookkeeping. What they do is they see themselves as an entrepreneur, a builder, a provider, a risk taker. All right. So what you have to get good at is connecting solutions to identity. Here's an example, right? You've worked too hard building this company to make decisions for incomplete financial information. You're the type of guy who has everything done the right way. Am I right? Boom. There we go. So now you're not discussing bookkeeping. You're discussing the identity of a serious business owner. It's much more influential. All right, the next one, I call it the loss aversion frame. Well, I don't call it that. That's what it's called. These terms have been around longer than me. I'm just teaching them to you because you won't read the books. And you haven't trained salespeople and taken thousands of sales calls. So anyway, here's the thing, okay? Psychologists discovered that people who work harder to avoid losses, that people will work harder to avoid losses than acquire gain. They'd rather avoid loss than acquire gain. Well, it's a lot harder, right? Which sounds stronger? Look, you pick. Let's make an extra $20K, or you may be losing $20K annually without realizing it, Janet. Well, the second statement creates more action. Why? Loss aversion. The brain hates losing. And you need to understand this at a high level. All right? Let's go to the next one. The future self frame. Most business owners delay because future consequences, they still feel distance. You can take someone's future pain and make it current pain. How do you do that? Watch this. Hey, let's pretend it's May 2027. Right? Let's just pretend, hypothetically, it's next year. Nothing changed, no bookkeeping, no advisory, no tax planning. What's your business look like now? Let them build the future, right? Then ask, would that concern you? Now, who's selling who? They're selling themselves. All right, let's go to the next one. The frame inside every objection, okay? This is the secret that most people won't talk about. Every objection is actually a frame. I need to think about it. Well, the translation, I need to think about it, is I don't have enough certainty, right? It's too expensive means I don't see value. You cover ROI, you sell the outcome. I need to talk to my spouse. I don't feel comfortable owning this decision. Right? Every objection is simply evidence that the current frame is weak. And elite salespeople don't fight objections. They change frames. Alright? Don't mind the darn airplane. Alright, listen. The highest level frame in sales. This is the level almost nobody reaches. The transformation frame. Most accountants sell services. You have to sell identity transformation. Bookkeeping isn't bookkeeping, it's becoming financially informed business owner, right? Tax planning isn't tax planning, it's becoming a strategic CEO. And advisory is advisory, it's becoming the type of entrepreneur who controls profit instead of chasing revenue. When you learn how to frame transition instead of transactions, that's the big money right there, right? That price resistance will drop, the trust rises, decision speed increases, everything changes. So if you found a lot of good tips in this video, definitely make sure you like and subscribe. Look, the question isn't can you explain your service, the question is can you frame reality in a way that helps prospects see the truth. Because if you can control the frame, you're going to control the outcome. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.